It's the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Morell, and this week's special guest is Molly Simpson. Really looking forward to you sharing the Good, the Bad and the Ugly, Molly. How are we?
Absolutely, I am amazing. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you
I'm
very
excited.
much. Now listen, I've seen you all over social media and I thought, you know what, I've got to get it on. And you've agreed, you know what, I was buzzing that you agreed to come on and stuff. And
of course.
Like, listen, you know, a lot of people, you know, you're more well known for being called the Witchorcist. Is that
the Witchorcist.
The Witchorcist, is it?
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is a mouthful. So you're not your average witch, you're paranormal specialist.
I am a specialist, yeah. I am an exorcist, basically. That is my main job.
Yeah.
And everything else that it entails, really. But I'm not what people would assume a witch is. A lot of people think witchcraft is to do with darkness, working with the devil, stuff like that, whereas I'm totally the opposite. All very much light and a walk with Jesus as well.
So listen, we're going to just get right into it then, do you know what I mean? So just want to start from where you're from, where you grew up, family life and school life was like?
So growing up, I had quite a rough childhood. I was born in Wavertree. We moved to Woolton, but my mum was a drug addict. She still is. So we had a very abusive upbringing. I was treated very different to my brother because I didn't have a dad, but he did. We didn't have I didn't have birthdays, he did. And yeah, like there was times when we didn't have a lot of food and stuff like that. My brother was fed, I wasn't. And growing up, it was difficult. I was bullied a lot. I was always different.
From an early age, Molly, yeah. From
a very young age, even down into primary school. In fact, in primary school, I had a pair of witch shoes that I used to get bullied for. The toes turned up on them. Oh. How funny. So yeah, it was really till I left school and I met my first boyfriend. I had my first child at 19 that I sort of managed to get myself out of one hellhole, and then I ended up in another. Yeah. So, you know, growing up, was there just you and your brother, was it? Yeah. Or, just the two of you? Was there much of an age difference? Or? 5 years between us. He's my older brother. He's older than me, yeah.
For you, growing up, it must have been hard, obviously, going to his dad's and then you left with your mum and...
Well, that's it. I mean, I did have my nan. My nan looked after me. She was like, she was the only person that showed me any love, really. And she was like the main parent. She would buy me clothes and stuff like that. But yeah, I suppose it was difficult. But when you're living in it and you're younger like that, you don't understand what's going on. You think it's normal. You think everyone else is going through the same thing. But it wasn't until I got to about, I think I was about 11. And one of my friends said to me, that's not normal. My mum had battered me for one reason. I think I'd stolen a sausage out the freezer to eat. And my mate had said, God, like, that's not normal. You should tell someone. And I was like, if one more person says that, I'll tell someone. But I think that's normal.
Was you trying to protect it, you think? And...
No, not even here, no. I thought I was going to get in trouble because when you're brought up in an abusive household like that, the first thing that they indoctrinate into you is if you start talking to other people, you're the one that's going to get in trouble. I'll end up in care, not here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not in the lap, and I was just a bad kid. And that was drilled into me from a very, very small age.
So that was your perception of how it was. Listen, my mum was banging to the ale and that. So I know where you're coming from, where they're more interested in doing what they were doing. Like you say, and, you know, my uncle and auntie who I idolised, they were addicted to drugs, you know, they were addicted to heroin and stuff like that. And for me, I idolised them. Mm-hmm. But seeing it around me, I thought it was normal.
Yeah, you do.
And you sort of come and what's into it, where you're just like... But then when you go to your friends' houses or whatever, you see it's normal. Mm-hmm. You see them having the tea at the table. You see them fucking doing normal family stuff.
Yeah, family days
and for me, when I was a kid, I was like, I felt like I didn't have all the gear like
yeah, I was did. Like that.
I was like, you know, going to footy and all that. I had fucking holes in my boots, and I felt like the odd one out in that, but. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't try and show it, you know what I mean? Even though it's killing you.
You try and be the funny one, don't you, and laugh it off, or you become like the class clown, because that's what I was
exactly the same.
Yeah. So
when you got to, like, say, school and stuff like that, and you left, you say, did your first child at the age of 19, is that right?
Yeah, so I actually ended up in a relationship with my mum's drug dealer. As you do, you know what I mean? I had my first child at 19, it's a very domestically violent relationship. I ended up leaving him when I was pregnant with my second child. Now, I'd done bits and bobs of modelling from the ages of 16 upwards anyway. And obviously when I left him, he didn't let me work or anything like that. So once I'd left him, I decided to get back into it, which I did. But I was getting nowhere with it. Really, I wasn't, because, I mean, you've only got to look at me, I'm 5'2", I haven't got a tit to my name. You know what I mean? I'm not typical model material. And I was trying my best to do all kinds of bits and bobs because I had too much pressure on me, you see. Obviously, I'd left him. I'd ended up having to move back in with my mum with these 2 kids, which I didn't want to do because the idea of them having a similar lifestyle to me, I couldn't accept that.
But you had nowhere else to go.
Well, I had nowhere else to go. That's the thing. And I thought, well, what can I do, really? And I got really desperate. And my mum was putting a lot of pressure on me, saying I was a terrible parent and this, that, and the other. And, you know, she wanted me to go and be a stripper because it's easy money, and I was not willing to do that.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I was suicidal, really, with it. You know, I didn't want to be here anymore because I was like, I brought these 2 kids into the world. Obviously didn't think it through very well, but I was a kid, you know what I mean? But because of that, I felt guilty then. And having that pressure on your shoulders and that guilt, it eats away at you, and you're looking at these 2 gorgeous kids and you're like, I've got nothing to give you, I can't, you know.
Molly, I'm going to ask you something here. Do you think, obviously, your mum's drug dealer, who you had, you know, your children to, showing you love and you want it, and that's what you thought, wow, that's
I wanted a way out.
No, but I get that. But do you think he was showing you love and whatever, and he thought everything's going to change? And
well, yeah, you know, he was earning an income, and he was going to look after me, and he had a nice apartment, and I was like, yeah, this is great. I can get away from here and the abuse that I was still experiencing at home, thinking I was going into a better situation when it was all right for the first 6 months. It always is, isn't it? The honeymoon period, and then it went downhill fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's when it's like, obviously, you've moved in with your mum. She's wanting you to do like
this, that, and the other. You know, all kinds of stuff. But that was a big theme within my family. So every woman in my family has either been an escort, a stripper, some kind of prostitute, one way, shape or form. They've always sold sex. My mum did it. My nan did it. Everyone's done it. My cousins, stuff like that. Like, my cousin was sold to men as a child as well, to the point where she can't even have kids now because she's that damaged by it.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going down that road, you know what I mean? I've just never been that type of person. I was always very different to my family anyway. So I was like, what can I do? And I knew about witchcraft. I'd known about witchcraft since I was very young. So my mum took us on a camp. Well, my mum's boyfriend at the time took us on a camping trip down to Glastonbury. And that's where I was first introduced to magic and the stars and
the Glastonbury Festival. Or
wasn't a festival. We just went to visit.
No, it wasn't Glastonbury.
We went to visit, and I must have been about 7. And I remember being sat in a graveyard while we were there, and my brother was running off playing, and my mum was chasing the dragon behind one of the gravestones. And this little girl comes over to me, and I'm talking away to her. And I remember my brother coming over to me going, what are you playing? And I went, oh, I'm playing with Rose. And he was like, there's no one there. What are you on about? And I was like, no, Rose, no, look, we're playing.
You're having a full-blown conversation.
With the spirit, yeah. And she looked like Alice in Wonderland. She had this gorgeous little blue dress on. She was probably from around the Victorian times. And I was chatting away to her. She was beautiful. And he ran over and told me mum. And my mum was like, yeah, she is.
But your mum had just been fucking...
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so my mum was like, yeah. And that's where she more or less was introduced to witchcraft as well. And she ended up getting in with some other people who were all drug addicts, but they were all into the black magic and stuff like that. And it was when we came home, again, I was still around the age of 7. It was only a couple of months after we come back off this little camping trip. And our dog had been run over. But my nan is the one that had bought the dog. And my mum knew that she'd let it out by accident. And she knew that my nan was going to kill her, basically, because it was my dog that she'd bought for me. And she woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. The dog was in the vet's waiting to undergo an operation. The vet had said, it's going to die. We'll operate, but we know it's not going to pull through. It's not going to be successful. It was something like a 10% chance of living. So she pulls me out of bed, absolutely off her face one morning at 3 o'clock. She's like, you'll have to come and do a spell with me. We're doing a spell. And I had to get naked.
How old was you at this?
7.
7?
Yeah. So she was naked, I was naked, and we had to walk around the pentagram, and she had a mouse in the mop bucket, and she had a rolling pin next to it, and she'd made the pentagram out of a green beaded curtain. You know that you had across the back doors and stuff for the flies, she'd made it out of that. And as we walked around it 3 times, she was saying some words on a piece of paper that someone had written down for her. And at some point in the ritual, she stops, she takes the mouse out the bucket, holds it down and whacks it on the head with the rolling pin and kills it. And what she said was the soul of the mouse and the life force energy of the mouse will go into the dog and the dog will survive. And lo and behold, the dog survived.
Fuck off.
Yeah. And I think that was the first spell I ever did.
No shit.
No shit. And that was dead normal in my house. In fact, I went into school and told the school about it.
Was that alarm bells? The teachers thinking you was fucking...
No. So the teacher that we had, I remember her name, Mrs. Thornton. I went in and I said, "Oh, my mum's a witch." And she went, "So am I." And I was like, "Oh, she did this and she saved the dog and she killed the mouse." And she was like, "Oh, yeah. And I remember thinking, "Oh, this is great. Everyone's in on this. This is totally normal," because you do as a kid. When you've got two adults mirroring back to, "Yeah, that's all right, that's fine." You go, "Oh, yeah."
You believe it, don't you?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And to be fair, my mother never spoke about that again. When we went to pick the dog up, the vet was like, "We can't believe," like the dog recovered within like 24 hours or something stupid.
Well, she didn't like say to them, "Look, we done a fucking spell or something."
No, she wasn't. So she wasn't that soft, you know what I mean?
Because the vets would have been like, "What?"
Well, yeah, no, she was clever, my mum. She was very clever, despite all of her vices. She still had.
Yeah.
She was
clued up, like...
Very manipulative, yeah, very, very bright, like a psychopath. And so, yeah, that was sort of when I was introduced to it, basically, and it was her that introduced me to it. And so when I got to that point where I had these two kids, I had no income. I didn't want to be a single mother on benefits. Like that, the idea of that, made me sick to the core for some reason. I think because I'd watched all my family grow up being on benefits,
and what you'd
selling
gone through
themselves,
and
what I'd gone through and stuff. I thought, it's not worth it, I'm not doing it. So I thought, I know, I'm going to sell my soul to the devil. Because what have I got to lose? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does work, this could be fucking fantastic for me. You know what I mean? So I remember doing research, and it took me about a year, good few months at least, of research, because there's nothing out there on how to do it. And you'd be surprised, there's lots of misinformation on the internet.
Yeah.
And misinformation in books, but none of it is actually real. None of it actually works. None of it's true magic. Even down to like Solomon's Key and stuff like that, never worked. Tried rituals, doing it through that, what they say, didn't work. And I did this ritual about 3 times, got excerpts of information from all over the place, and sort of put it together. But it wasn't until the 3rd time that I did the ritual, so I'd waited up all night, waited for, obviously, put the kids to bed. My mum was asleep or passed out, whatever. And we had a 3-storey house in Woolton. I was only on a council estate, and I was on the attic, on the top floor. And I drew this pentagram out in marker. I had a wooden floor that had been painted white, and I draws it out in permanent marker. And then something inside me said, "I'll put another circle on it." So I did. And I drew the pentagram in. And I cut the blood off my knuckle. And I started putting blood on the corners, and then something took over my body, and I picked a pen up and I started writing these symbols at every point in the pentagram. And the only way I can describe it is chanting or humming some kind of word. I couldn't tell you what it is now.
The feeling and what you could hear and stuff.
Something possessed me and took over my body and was controlling what I was doing in this ritual. And like where I didn't have a door. There was no doors in our house. They've all been ripped off over the years. And I had like a curtain, and it was always freezing on the top floor anyway. Not that we ever had any gas, but it was freezing anyway. And I remember being stood in the pentagram, and I must have sort of come back into my own body a little bit. And I'm stood there, there's blood dripping off both of my hands. There's blood all over the floor. There's all these symbols. And I seen this big gust come towards me, so the curtain blew towards me. This freezing, cold wind, and I shut my eyes. And this fear come over me, because I knew something was with me. Something was stood in front of me. And I must have stood there for a couple of seconds before I ran, and I jumped in my bed. I'm still pouring with blood, and I threw the covers over my head, like so nothing can see me, like you do as a kid when you're petrified. And I lay there all night, and after a while I started hearing these bells. They were like, not quite church bells. I've never heard the sound ever since, but it was bells. And they went on and on and on for hours, and it was all I could hear. It was that loud, and I'm thinking, that sounds like it's outside my window. I was too scared to get out of the bed or lift my head out from under the cover already, in case fucking Baphomet himself was at the end of it. And I must have fell asleep at that point. And I wakes up in the morning and I sees the pentagram and there's still dry blood on the floor, and I'm like, Well, I feel fucking normal. That didn't work. Know what I mean? Gets up, goes about my day, and I'm doing things. And after a couple of weeks, I ended up with an email that invited me to a casting call. Now, what I'd done in this ritual is I hadn't said I want to be a model. What I said is I want to be financially secure. And I didn't make any specific requests to how to become financially secure, which now that I know a lot better, I should have. And I should have told the way I wanted it to be, because it would have happened that way. But either way, I get this email and I get invited for a casting call. And it goes, and they love me. Absolutely love me. And they were like, yeah, we're going to assign you an agent, you're on our books. And I was like, what?
And is that, do you think that from that, it come from that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because when you see a 5'2" girl modelling fashion, you don't. You just don't. And even the modelling industry, it's all people who know someone or other.
It's who you know, innit?
It is,
yeah,
it
yeah.
is. And I was very working class, lower class girl with, like I say, the opposite body to what a model would want for that industry. You know what I mean? And that's how I started. I started in fashion. They gave me an agent. And I ended up having to swap agents for one reason or another. And I was introduced to this fella. And he took me to my first international job, which was in Brazil. And we does the job, and we get back to the hotel, and he sexually assaulted me. But on camera, he was filming it. And I laughed it off, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, oh my God, behave, sort of thing, because you're like, I'm on my own with this fella in a hotel room, and he's recording himself grabbing me, you know what I mean? And he was
this an agent? Was this meant to be your agent, was it? Or?
Yeah, this was my agent. And I'm thinking it's part and parcel of the industry, you know.
But is that what you thought? That's what you put?
It's one of them, I think, you know, as he tried to rape me, I would have battered him, or I would have fought back.
But he put his hands on you and
to
like...
put my hands on
come on to you and stuff like that, yeah?
Normal. It's normal.
That's not acceptable.
It's not acceptable, but it is a very, very normal part of the modelling industry.
It's fucking wrong.
It's a very normal part of the media industry as well. So, and it was that night after all this, as I was getting ready, he was taking me to a party, like an after party thing. And this was about a year in to me getting the contract and stuff like that. And we goes to this massive club. And, you know, it was great. We were all having a good time. I didn't really know anyone, but I was talking with other girls that were there and this, that and the other. And he says, oh, I want to introduce you to someone. I was like, okay. And he takes me to this back room where there's 3 fellas sat at a table. 3 old fellas. They must have been between the ages of 70 and 90. Really old and decrepit men. And one of them gets up and comes towards me and he shakes my hands and he's like, we've been waiting for you. I was like, oh, Grace. And I can't remember much from that night. I do think they did drug me in some way, shape or form. And that was the start of my initiation into a satanic club, basically, through them men.
A satanic club, yeah?
Yeah.
So what happened from there then, Molly?
So from there, it was a couple of weeks later, I was invited to a dinner party down in Berkshire. And I went and I did know a couple of people there, not very well, but I knew them. I'd known them from, you know, different jobs and them being on set and stuff like that. So we were sat and we were talking. My agent was there, someone from the actual agency was there. And it got to about 1 o'clock in the morning. We were all staying over at this beautiful house. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, loads of people just disappeared. Absolutely disappeared. And they were like, right, we're going to go for drinks in this back room. So we were like, okay. And them 3 fellas are there. And they weren't there at the dinner. But they were there, and I'm thinking, oh, what the fuck, you were in another country.
In Brazil, you were in Brazil, yeah.
Yeah. And basically, they let it be known to me on the slide that they knew what I'd done. The ritual. They knew things.
But how would they have known that?
My head was gone. My head had fell off
at
this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
And I was debating, like, do we just get in my car and run away? And I was thinking, no, because you wanted this, you asked for this, you're making so much money. Like, why would you run now? Don't run now. You know what I mean?
When you're saying it like that, it's like, I've come this far, but then there's fear, the fear factor's there.
I was petrified. But then at the same time, I remember saying to myself, well, like, you knew what you were getting yourself in for. You did a fucking ritual to sell your soul to the devil. What did you think was going to come of it? Obviously, I didn't think none of that was going to come of it, but it had. No. And it's like, I'm in too deep a little bit. And before I know it, it's like this gorgeous marble floor, checkerboard floor, black and white. And there was a pentagram in red just there in the tile. It was already like
engraved. Was it like not engraved or? But it was
but,
just.
But it was part of the actual floor. Do you know, it hadn't been drawn on. It was being ready made basically. And obviously there was a couple of women that I didn't know. Everyone that I had known had disappeared, but the agent was there. He had put a big long black cloak on, and I'm stood in my normal dress, like looking totally normal. With all my makeup on and my shoes, and they were like, get in the pentagram. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I did as I was told, and they went round me, and they were banging this incense thing, and they were all chanting in Latin. And eventually the oldest of them all, I would think is the oldest. I can't say his name, but he used to wear these crocodile skin shoes. Well, crocodiles, like snake skin effecty shoes, and he always has a bag to match. And he walks towards me, I can't see his face because it's got like a veil over it. He walks towards me and he cuts me on the side of my ear with blood. And he pushes it down on his tongue. And then he dots it on each of the corners of Baphomet's head, so on an inverted pentagram. And obviously the blood's pouring down me. I had a white silk dress on. It was beautiful. It's from Polly. I remember it because I never got the blood out of it. And I remember sort of like, I went woozy when he did that. It wasn't the cut, I wasn't overly bleeding or anything like that. I think it was the adrenaline, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I start shaking. And they must have noticed that I was got about to have a panic attack. And they all started laughing. And they were like, oh, it's just a joke, Molly. It's just it. Well, they didn't call me Molly, they called me Lana, because that was my modelling name. Mm-hmm. It's all a joke, Lana, it's all a joke. And I was like, oh, yeah, fucking funny this, you know what I mean? I'm covered in blood. And they were like, right, we're going to retire. Like, 4 of them went that way. A couple of people went, and they just left me in this room. And I went round and I blew all the candles out. They left all the candles, and you know the way you just go through your emotions, and they're like, I better put them out, that's a fire hazard.
After what's gone on, you're fucking too busy to clean up and all that.
You know what I mean? And then I goes to bed, and then more and more invites would come, and they'd always come in a white envelope with a black star, an upside down star.
Delivered to?
Hand delivered. Always hand delivered, never by post. You'd never see anyone deliver them, no. Ever.
It was, so the postman wasn't delivering, it was hand...
they were hand delivered. Hand delivered. All invitations to other rituals, this, that and the other. One of the worst ones, there was a fella on a table that had been hung, drawn and quartered, and they were eating him.
Cannibalism?
That was France. That was in France, yeah.
Fucking hell, Molly.
I mean, I remember saying...
That's heavy, that, you know, that like what you're saying is like...
It's so much more common than people think. I'm not the only one that's been through this. There's thousands of women, thousands of other people, not just women,
who haven't come out and spoke about it.
Who won't speak about it because they're at risk. Like I've nearly been killed multiple times. And I think now I feel much more comfortable to speak about it because too many people know my story.
Yeah.
Too many people know about me. You know what I mean? And should I go missing, they'll all be like, Molly, the club's got Molly. We know the club's got it. You know what I mean?
So, obviously the club, we won't... Listen, don't want to be putting you in fucking... danger.
No,
I know you're quite happy to speak about certain things, but fearing for your life, you know, you're saying run off the road and stuff like that.
Yeah, so basically it got to a point, it was after that one in France. No one said it was a real person.
Because you didn't return, or you were just like blanking them? No. Was you just blanking them?
I was just ignoring everything. I was getting these emails through and it looked like, I want to say like Russian language. You know the way they have like...
all in the letters.
It's mad. It was a mad way of using letters. The only way I could say it is similar to like Russian or something like that. And they come out like by email, like threats and stuff. We know where you are. There'll be pictures of me. There's pictures of me with my kids in certain places. You must come to the next one, and we're missing your presents. And so they weren't.
And you getting pictures like that?
Me. Oh yeah.
Fucking hell.
So there was one where I took my kids to Reynolds Park with one of my mum's dogs. My mum used to breed chihuahuas. And I'm walking. Reynolds Park is smaller, if you know it. It's in Walton Village. It's really, really small. Like, there's not many places to hide.
So to take a picture and stuff, you'd probably see some because it's that small, yeah?
No, there's pictures, multiple pictures, even one of me picking the dog shit up. And the kids are like laughing and they're staring at the camera as they're laughing, my kids. And I'm like, but I didn't see anyone. There was no one in that park.
Professionals or whatever it is.
It was mad. Honest to God, it was mad how they were doing it.
That must have freaked you out though.
Oh yeah, it did. But it was more... so that I was like, all right, I've just got to keep on with this. I don't want to do it, but I've got to keep on with it. But I think as well, I had a lot of like cognitive dissonance because I'm saying to other people at these parties, other girls that I know, and I'm like that one in France, and I was like, that's a human. That's a human. They were like, no, it's art. No, this is art. It's not real.
That had
it's
been
art.
drilled into them.
Yeah. And I'm going, that's not art. That's not nice to look at. Like, there's innards everywhere. There was a kidney on someone's plate. Like, his eyeballs had been pulled out and they were hanging on the sides of his face. Someone had cut his tongue off and was eating it. But while I was at these rituals, at these dinner parties, regardless of what the function was, lots of other supernatural experiences would happen to me at the same time. So I remember I walked into a back room and there was like an orgy going on. They had girls and they were spinning them on tables. They were all naked until they bled, you know, because they were trying to keep hold of them. So the spin and blood everywhere. And I remember falling into what I would say was a black hole, and having a dalliance with the demonic, basically a demonic entity that was like, we were dancing. It was like a scene out of the Labyrinth where she dances with them at the mass ball. That's what it was like. And then I'd wake up again and I'd be back in this party and I'd be like, am I imagining this? Like, my head was gone. It wasn't easy for me to go, yeah, this is sounds, or no, this is wrong, because there's so many odd experiences were happening to me that I couldn't keep my feet on the floor.
That must have been scary, you know, like, obviously, say, when you first done that, what's the name, in your attic?
Yeah.
Did you just think, this is, I need out of this,
Well, I mean, I'd done it twice the first 2 times and nothing had happened. So when I had that experience with the 3rd time with the ritual, and I knew something had changed. Even when I woke up in the morning, I still felt normal. I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting to wake up and be like,
this is a dream, this, or fucking...
Yeah, I don't know, or maybe for, like, Satan himself to be like, hi, Molly, here's £100,000. You're going to do this for me now. I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting it to go the way it did, but it did.
That is just like, what you're telling us is, that just...
I think the most scariest part for me was this. So from a small child, I'd always been able to hear angels, spirits, and see them and speak to them and stuff like that. Very, very talented medium. And all of that got switched off that day I did that last ritual. And I got radio silence. And then after a couple of months, I started hearing screams and demons. And then I started seeing them on people. That was the most scariest thing for me, because I could
freaking you out or what, or?
Hell. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was freaky. It was more so that I was like, I'm going to get sectioned if I tell anyone.
I mean, what you're saying, and people who are watching and listening are probably thinking,
some storybook, this queen.
This is no, but you know what? It's like, it's a fucking horror movie. This is something that you'd see like Stephen King, or
there's so many.
But this actually goes on.
There's videos all over the internet of women coming out of places screaming, saying they're eating people in there, and then they disappear and they go missing. And so many people have come out and said these things, and they do go missing.
That is just absolutely bonkers, like, and like you're here telling us, and you know, I just can't believe like these things go on, because my missus talks to me about stuff like this, and I'm just like, fuck off, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
And that's not me being horrible.
No.
I'm like, nah, you know, you're watching too many films. Yeah. And I say it to her all the time, because I just said to you, my missus wanted to come along while we film this, because she's been like...
Wait till you tell her that. She'll be glad she didn't.
She'll have fucking night. I'll have nightmares tonight, but...
Well, yeah.
But, you know, like, so from there, you know... Now then, everyone, sorry for interrupting this episode. Here's a message from our sponsor, Super Resin. They are specialists in resin driveways and flooring across North Wales and the North West. Whether it's a driveway, worktop, or flooring, they've got you covered. For 10% off, use the code TGTBTU. Now let's get back to the episode. What did it mean after all that? Because anyone else would just go, nah, I don't want nothing to do with that.
And I did exactly the same.
Is that what you...
I shunned everything. I wouldn't touch nothing. So obviously, I mean, I started dying once I stopped going to these things, and it sort of turned me back on it. I ended up basically with what the hospital said was a blood disorder. And I was in and out of Whiston, in and out of the Royal, and they were all like, I had sepsis, I had multiple things going wrong with me, and to the point where the blood that they were pulling out of me was clear. And they were like, you shouldn't even be alive. We can't understand this, that and the other. And I was in and out of hospital for about
all over
4
Liverpool,
months.
Whiston, the Royal.
Yeah, because I was discharging myself from one hospital and saying to my mum, I'll have to go to another one, because they're not treating me for anything. They were just keeping me in a bed, pumping me with like blood infusions, antibiotics, and saying, you'll be fine after this one, you'll be fine after that one. But after every blood transfusion, within 24 hours, it had gone back to low. And I was like, this is because of what I've done. I know this is because of what I've done. And because I'm not playing my part, they're going to kill me now in order to take what I owe. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I was in a downstairs clinic in the Royal, and I'd gone in for an iron infusion because they were the only things that worked. Couldn't take iron tablets. So they had to give me this liquid iron. And this nurse I'd never seen before in my life, I'd come over and she sets the drip up, and as she was just sort of like making sure everything was all right, she just looked me in the eye and crouched down and she went, I think you should find a natural healer because we can't help you in here.
She just come out with that,
yeah.
like?
And I was like, what? I've never seen you in my life. You know nothing about my history in here. Like, what the fuck? But I did. And I thought I'll go home and I'll research. And I did. I contacted thousands of people. I mean, thousands. I was contacting priests. I wanted an exorcism. Contacted loads of different spiritual practitioners, shamans, who all claimed they could help me. I'd explain what I'd done. They were like, yeah, we're going to charge you X amount of money and we'll get rid of it and that'll be that. No one could fix it. I must have spent, God, about 15 grand just trying to get better and try and get this demon removed from me. And they couldn't, and it wasn't until I went and I found an actual natural healer. It's like a herbalist and an acupuncturist. And I remember walking into his, he had like a clinic in his house. And you go around the back way to walk in. And as he goes to step over the threshold, he looked above my head and he went, you've got a friend with you? And I went, I know, and I smiled. So while I had this demonic with me, it was called Belphegor.
It's called what?
Belphegor.
Belphegor, yeah.
That was the demonic that I'd chosen to sell my soul with, to make a pact with. And they would help me by being attached to me through possession and stuff like that to help me further my career in one way or another to make this money. And I was going to give it the pound of flesh, my soul, basically upon my death. And so I've walked in and I felt that because it could control me when it wanted to. Like, even on some of my modelling pictures, you can see it. You can see that's not me. You can see it's a demon. I'll show you them. And so yeah, he goes, you've got a friend with you, and I immediately like, this big grin, this cheesy grin, like this thing was killing me, and I'm like, I know, yeah, I know. How'd you know? And he was like, I know about these things, and I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, he gets me, and he was like, you're dying, literally dying. Did like a rife machine and stuff like that, and he said, I'm gonna have to ring someone. And he knew an accountant down in London, like proper top of the shop, accountants, really big in the game, who got rid of these demons. And I was like, what?
An accountant?
An accountant? This is exactly what I was saying to him. I'm looking at him across his desk going, right, okay, and how's he going to do it? And he went, he's going to tone. And I went, so he's going to sing. He's going to sing and get rid of this. And he went, do you want help or not? And I was like, well, no.
You thought it was a wind-up?
Yeah, like, it was one of them for me. I thought he's a natural healer, so he wants to be able to heal me, even if he can't. Know what I mean? Maybe it's ego anyway. He gets this fella on the phone, this Irish fella. And he does, I tells him what I'd done. And I'm laughing. I said, yeah, I sold my soul to the devil, and now I'm dying. He went, yeah, I'm not surprised. And I was like, okay. Steps away, and he starts doing this weird noise, this toning, dead high pitch, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, oh. And I'm like, oh, fuck off, for you messing on this loudspeaker on the natural healer's phone. And by the end of it, I felt no difference, and I could still hear this thing. So I says to him, I said, no, I can still hear it screaming at me. Like, I can hear the demonic realm. He went, yeah, you will hear the demonic realm because I can only remove what you've got on you. I can't remove your contract. You've got to do that. And I went, well, how do we do that? He went, you'll find out. They'll let you know. And I was like, oh, you have had me off, yeah. But he didn't charge me any money. And I was like, all right, sound. So I kept going back to this natural healing. Every time I go back, he'd go, you've still got it. And I'd be like, I know. And he was like, well, why haven't you broke the contract? And I was like, I don't know how to. You said just could help me. You'd help him. He was helping me health.
But you didn't know how to get rid of... Like...
But I didn't know how to stop the contract and obviously stop hearing this thing and having it control me and stuff like that. And it went on for about 6 months, and obviously I was still having issues with that club. I was still doing little low-level bits of modelling. I was doing more hostessing and stuff like that, hosting parties and clubs and stuff. And I remember it was getting ran off the road, so I was coming up from Essex. I'd done a party, drove down to Essex that day, did this party, and I thought I'm driving home because I didn't like staying out anywhere, obviously, because this thing's talking to me constantly. And I'm driving up, and it was a motorbike at first, swerved like it was going to come at me, and I was in the outside lane. It was the middle of the night, no one's on the road. So I've swerved onto the hard shoulder and hit the stone that was down there. And I was thinking, oh, fucking hell, what are you doing? You know what I mean? What a nutter. Thinks nothing of it. Gets to Starbucks, pulls in the services, and there he is on his bike. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? This is all weird. So I'm thinking, well, shut the fucking F, and started screaming at him. The cheeky bastard just nearly killed me. Goes to Starbucks, gets a drink. Gets back in my car and I'm drinking my coffee, and every time I'm drinking this coffee I'm feeling woozy. I'm feeling sicker and sicker and sicker. And my stomach was still swelling up now and again anyway with the other issues that I was having with this thing while it was draining me like force energy. So I'm thinking, oh, my sickness is coming back until the point I was drowsy at the wheel and I had to stop. And I was like, there's something in that drink. I know there's something in it.
From the Starbucks?
Yeah, just a dead normal Starbucks. Some fella served me, some young lad, not untoward, seemed anything, you know what I mean? I didn't look at the whole situation, looking back and going, that was suspicious, because none of it was. It was just very normal.
It was just serving you like he would normally,
And I'm thinking, oh, this is mad. Anyway, it starts to come to, and lo and behold, we got onto the M62 by this point, and this motorbike comes up behind me again, does the same thing, and I missed the barrier by that much, just by the IKEA it was. And it missed the barrier by that much, but it smashed all the sides of my tyres in, and all my tyres were flat. And I was like, what if the police come? What if the police come? Luckily enough, I knew someone that was like a 24-hour mechanic, and they came and sorted it. They cracked me alloy and everything, and he was like, fucking hell, like, have you seen the skid marks? Like, what happened? There's no one on the road. And I was getting to like 5 o'clock, so it was starting to get a bit busier, and I was like, I've just been ran off the road. And when I looked in the mirror, I had a black eye. Don't know where it come from, don't know how it appears. And he was like, oh, something mad's happened to you. And he was treating me dead weird. And I feel like he knew something was going on, even though I was like, I don't know, I just swerved. There was a motorbike and it did it to me twice and it followed me. And then it was at the Starbucks and then I felt poisoned. And he was like, oh, you're not well. You know what I mean? But I had loads of instances like that, loads of threats, all kinds of stuff, basically. But it was all to do with the club because I wasn't fulfilling my end of the bargain, basically.
Yeah.
And I knew too much about them. I could have been damaging, you know what I mean? So I do believe, you know, had I not looked after myself the way I did, I'd probably be dead now anyway.
From the club and stuff. And...
yeah, they'd just be like, oh, she's like had an overdose, and they will have just drugged me. Because if you notice, everyone that goes missing, everyone that's had something to say always gets drugged and overdosed, don't they?
Yeah, you're right. You bang on there. You're spot on. It's one of those. But so getting into, you know, the witchcraft, like what's your philosophy and your belief, your personal belief, you know, regarding...
So I believe in Jesus. I don't believe in a God.
Yeah.
I believe the universe was created. Is it a simulation? I don't know. It's one of them, really. I think it's a very, very complex matter. But at the end of the day, witchcraft is all about harnessing your inner power. That's all it is. We all have magic power at our fingertips, and it's what you choose to do with it. Once you discover it, that either makes you a good witch or a bad witch.
What are you?
I'm always a good witch. I was a bad witch and I'm very open about it, you know what I mean? But I suppose, even when I say I was a bad witch, yes, I did black magic to sell my soul, but I never did a spell to harm anyone. Never been into hexing people. I'd rather go and scream at them because I get more out of that. You know what I mean?
What's hex?
Hexers who just bad intentions or trying to harm someone through magic, through a spell, through intention, basically.
That goes on, like...
Oh, yeah, the FBI employ people to do that. Like, it's all come out, it's all declassified. They were employing witches, wizards, psychics to first what they did is they asked the witches to send negative energy towards bacteria in a lab to see what happens, and the bacteria all dies when the witches did it. And then they did it on certain political people, and loads of them died in mad, dead, mysterious circumstances, yeah. It's all declassified, you can go and read it.
That's fucking mental.
Magic's real. Very, very real.
That's scary, that.
Do you think?
What you're saying
I think it's fascinating.
No, I mean, it is fascinating because when you say things, when you hear, like, a senator or somebody in, like, the government, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, he's passed away, him, or he's whatever. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of all that because I'm not really clued up on it, so I don't get involved. But when you're saying stuff like that, and then when people go missing or people just drop dead, apparently.
Well, so even all your major fashion houses, they employ shamans to make sure it doesn't rain on the fashion show. Do you know that? Like, it's on their accounts, it's on their books. Oh, and the shamans that they use, they only fly first class. and they pay for it all. Because that's how real it is. Now, what you've got to remember is the powers that be don't want anyone to know that they've got this power inside them. Because can you imagine if the whole world suddenly uprose and went, hang on a minute, you're a bunch of cunts, you're not running this right. You know what I mean? Lots of people are suffering, we're at war, we're doing all these horrific things to people. They'd be fucked, wouldn't they? There would be no power class, there would be no politicians, there would be no, you know what I mean?
And it's that thing again, money talks, doesn't it?
Money talks, but this is why, like, I believe the education system's indoctrinating your kids. Just all it's teaching them, your education system, is how to be a good worker and be a yes man. You know what I mean? Do as you're told. You're lucky if you get 1 day off a week, and you should be grateful for that. And before you know it, you'll be working till you're dead. Or if you're lucky, you might get cancer first. You know what I mean? Because that's all we do, isn't it?
That's all you're earning.
We work to die. We don't work to live. We work to die. There is no life really unless you've got a fair bit of money in the bank.
Your own, they want you to do what they tell you to do and all that.
That's it, and we've only got to look at it since the 70s, when obviously spirituality has a bit of a thing in the 70s. It become quite popular.
With like the hippies and all that, you mean, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we're seeing a huge wealth divide begin to happen from that moment, because it's like they knew, oh, hang on a minute, all these people are getting onto this. We need to how can we push them down? You know what I mean? And they do that through all various means, through your food, through your medicines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but there is stuff in vaccinations that keeps you dumbed down, like heavy metals and stuff like that. You know, it's in the air you breathe, it's in your routines, it's in the media, that's in and even now we've got social media where that's actually damaging people's brains. We're flicking from scenarios of war to a makeup tutorial to, have you heard about taking your kids to this place? Do you know what that's doing to your brain? One, it's making us numb. We've got no compassion, basically, because it's all normal. Seeing kids' torn bodies and stuff like that's normal because we see it every day on social media, and then it swaps to a makeup tutorial, so the brain goes, oh, well, that wasn't that bad, because look at this.
You forgot about that?
Yeah. And that's how we're all indoctrinated, through various means and sources and routines, basically.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You know, if there's any misconceptions that about witchcraft that you want to clear up?
So people think witchcraft is, so the biggest issue that people have with me is your religious people. Christians absolutely despise me. And what it is because I talk about Jesus a lot. It was Jesus that saved me. It was Jesus that helped me get out the contract. He appeared to me in a vision. I've always shunned Jesus. We were brought up very Catholic as children. And I didn't believe in it. And if anything, I hated him because I thought, how dare you create a world where I've got to live like this? Like, I was mad at him. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, it doesn't exist, until I had no choice but to believe he did. But because I practice witchcraft alongside, so spellcasting, mediumship, being a psychic, and astrologer even, and then I go, oh yeah, but Jesus does all this through me. I'm just a vessel. It's not me. I'm just a vessel for the divine. The Christians, the religious, they hate me. But you know, you Muslims get on with me fantastically.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying it's just that, like, because obviously what you do, you wouldn't. You think that, you know, but people have this perception, don't they? Yeah, you know what I mean?
They do. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Shia Muslims are much more into witchcraft and stuff like that. They have Sufism and stuff, which is closer to them than it is the Sunni part of Islam. But even then, when I speak to people and I say, oh yeah, I perform exorcisms, and they go, you mean a ruqyah? Because that's what Islam calls it.
That's what they
know. And they know all about it. And even now when I get clients come to me, like I had a nurse, obviously never believed in none of this stuff. She had poltergeist in her house to put her in hospital. It threw her out of a loft. And even like she was going to people, saying to people, these things are happening to me, I can't explain it. Like, it's put me in hospital, and you know, it's
people
not
thought
good.
She was off a cake.
They all thought she was off her head until she went to hospital over a knee. She damaged the knee when it attacked her. And she was talking to a Muslim doctor, and she went, look at it, I know you think you're going to think I'm mad, but this is happening to me at home. And he went, no, I believe every word you're saying, because we have ways and means that they're called jinn in our religion, and you need to go for an exorcism, or you need to get someone in to help you, and blah, blah, blah. So it's finding people that are open to it, who know more about it. Whereas your Christians are very, very closed off. Don't get me, so are your Catholics. And to be fair, I don't come up against any Jews, really. I don't get any issues from them. But like I say, over social media, it does tend to be Catholics and Christians that really do want to see me burn on a stake. Because how dare I talk about Jesus?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you know what? That's what I was going to ask you. You must experience some judgment, fear. Obviously, you have being like, you know, run off the fucking road, people sending you, you know, threats and all stuff like that. You know, but due to your beliefs, does that ever you think to yourself, I'm going to need to knock this on the head, you know what I mean? Or,
so, to be fair, up to now, it was only a couple of weeks ago, actually, everything's been quite even more ripped into me for me, like the way I look and my teeth and that. Like, they were all getting me teeth on Instagram and stuff, and, you know, oh God,
how do you deal with that, though, Molly? Do you know what I mean? Look, you know, like...
It's horrible. It is horrible. I mean, I've had veneers done, so I was a bit like, fucking hell, I mean, nicotine stains that bad. And I did go and get my teeth cleaned in the dentist, because I was like, they must be looking at something. And even my dentist, like, calmed down.
Do you know when we put ourselves out there, say, for instance, we do the podcast and stuff like that, and whatever, so... And everyone's entitled to an opinion. But when it gets to a point when people are being just fucking vile and nasty and stuff like that, if you've got nothing nice to say, just don't say it. You know, you can have a what's the name conversation where you're going, I don't necessarily mean, because I'll be honest with you, you coming on to that, I was like, I say to me missus, I don't believe in what's the name and all that. But I wanted to get you on and find out more about this, because what you're telling me now, I'm like, my missus has spoke to me about certain things and what you're saying about stuff that goes on and stuff like that. So I was very sceptical.
Men always are. Do you know why?
Go ahead.
Because you aren't ruled by the moon. Women's cycles were very, very in tune with the universe. We're very in tune.
I think women are more clued up than us fellas anyway.
Well, we are, yeah.
Do you know? But you know, I was very sceptical about what to expect and putting stuff together to ask you and stuff like that. I was a bit like,
what do I fucking say?
What do I ask? But what you're coming back to me with, I'm like, wow. I'm like, fucking hell. And I've still got lots to speak to you about and stuff. But, you know, when you're saying about people on social media, and it is a bad place, we speak about it all the time on the podcast.
I don't think they're human. I think some of them, I'm sure you've had it yourself, some of the horrific comments, 99% of them are bots, they're AI bots. So if you click on the profile, they'll have no followers and they'll follow a certain amount of people, but they'll have nothing to back it up as being a real human, you know what I mean? And it's a well-known thing that Instagram...
Why abuse somebody or...
Why train a computer program to abuse people on the internet? Because that's what Meta does, Facebook and Instagram, the things that run that, they train AI bots to comment and do horrific things. Like, there was one, the profile name was Big Barbs, so I'd put on my story, God, it must have been like 6 months before, some woman had dropped my cat down the road. And
dropped your cat?
She dropped my cat, right?
Your cat?
My cat. Don't ask, I got it back. Catnapper, she's known as. Anyway, she robs me fucking cat, puts it on my story, was having a laugh over it, gets the cat back, doesn't say another word about it. And then this boss, about, God, months later...
Just randomly
starts commenting on it, going, you've robbed my cat. You've robbed my cat. So these things must be used and they must have permission to watch people's certain profiles, Instagrams, and taking information that they can use to go for them. Yeah. It's mad.
Seriously, yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. They want people depressed. They want people down. They don't want people feeling good about themselves or in their power, because then you're uncontrollable. Whereas when you're down, you're very negative, you're low vibrational, they can do whatever they want to you and you'll go, oh, more shit on my back, go on then. You know what I mean?
That's, you know, when you put it like that, like, I'm speaking about my missus again, saying it's about control, Tony, and all that, and I'm just like, listen, I just get on with my own stuff, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But when you're saying stuff like, how the fuck...
You don't notice just subliminal messages popping up when you're scrolling through social media? You never notice them?
Which?
So if you look at your Instagram and you're scrolling for a while, you'll catch it. You've got to be very, very on the ball with it. At the bottom of the screen, there'll be a pop-up, but you won't see it until it's going. And then you'll go, oh, what was that moved down there? And it's a subliminal message that's going into your brain to trigger something
to
within
take you
the cells.
off that.
So you're watching something, and they're subconsciously programming something else into your head while you're distracted watching whatever it is that you've chose to look at.
Whatever you scrolled or clicked on or whatever.
Even down to like I don't know what it's called. I think maybe metrics or something. Is they'll see what you click on, they'll see what you stop your phone screen on social media, and then they'll be like, okay, so he likes that. They like this, they like that.
Is it called, like algorithm like that?
Yeah, like the algorithm, basically.
Yeah.
How can we do this to make him, he needs to buy a new t-shirt, he needs to get a gym membership, and then it'll start showing you things that make you feel shit about yourself to buy something.
That's what, like you say, you've been looking at a holiday, next thing you've got all kinds of fucking...
Yeah, your phones are listening.
Do you know what I mean? And
All
it's
your
like,
friends are listening.
or you're looking for, like, say, new clobber.
Literally.
It's like, hang on, I've had
Well, this is it. See,
my
even on
phone's
your
watching me or
iPad
something
there.
or what, because people say that, don't they?
Right, they do, but even the way you've wrote about witchcraft on your iPad there, if you start scrolling through Google and social media, you're going to see all kinds of articles and pop-up advertise like spell kits and stuff like that, because they're constantly listening. They're also constantly watching. But people don't want to believe that.
It can, whatever app you're on, it'll copy your keystrokes or whatever
Yeah,
you're using on your phone.
That's what I mean.
It collects that data, whether you're on Google, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Just text them, someone, TikTok, copies exactly what you say.
It's scary. That is scary when you put it like that, like, do you know what I mean?
Look at this as well. Notice the way we have fashion. Fancy the way everyone's wearing sports gear now. Everyone is in one way, shape or form. All the girls are wearing trainers and leggings or shorts and a hoodie. Why do we all look the same? Why have none of us gone, oh my God, we're all dressed the same? It's like the boy in the striped pyjamas. Know what I mean?
It's crazy.
Again, it's how the controllers, oh look, Adenola's in. Everyone goes, oh, we must go and buy it. Know what I mean? We must all look the same. It's like we're all in uniform. Different shades of uniform, but we're all in uniform. But
everyone's in the same type of,
That's why I refuse to dress like a witch. Everyone says to me, there's no way you're a witch. Know what I mean? For the bounce here today, I'm a little leopard print gym set, you know what I mean?
No, but that's what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask you about that in a bit, like. But hiya everyone, sorry to interrupt this episode, but here's a quick one from me. If you're enjoying the podcast and you enjoy what we're doing, you can now buy us a coffee. It's a simple way to keep those stories coming. No subscription, just that one-off bit of support. The link's in the description. Now back to the episode. You know, how do you balance your spiritual practices with your day-to-day, everyday life?
It is part of my day-to-day life.
It is who
I am.
That's just who you are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a mother and, you know, I've got friends. But even, you know, I am a witch to the point where even now, say, like, I go for a drink, Patsy will say to me constantly, she's not working, she's not witch Molly, let her just be herself. But I can't help it because it starts coming out.
And you know, you meet Patsy, I'm like, she's probably, you know, your good friend, your best friend and whatever, he'll say. But how do your other friends, people you call friends, and you go, she's fucking round the bend here, or whatever.
There's someone that I've known for years since I was a little girl. They've seen all the shit I went through when I was growing up. Her mother practically
fell apart, or
no, we still speak. We're still friends. But even like she knows me inside and out. She really does. We've grown up together. Like it's to the point where we sort of split as we got older, because I went allowed out the house when I was with my kid's dad, and you know, she was off doing her thing. I think she went to uni or something like that. And it wasn't until I started telling my story on Instagram through my highlights, she knew certain things. She knew I got into modelling and stuff like that, and you know, she knew vague details. But once she'd watched all my highlights, I remember her sending me a message going, "You're taking the fucking piss. You are lying." And she was like, "I'm not having that. You're making that up for a laugh. You just want views." And I was like,
you clickbait and all that shit.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I was like, I'm not. And then she must have sat with it for a while. And then I remember her ringing me one day and going, you know when you used to disappear for months on end, is that where you'd be? Is that what you were doing? And I was like, yeah. She went, so that's where all that money was coming from? And I was like, yeah. And she was like,
now
wow,
it's sort of
that makes sense.
It's fallen into place.
Yeah, I do think that she thinks that I dramatise stuff. And I know, like, especially when I do, like, my conspiracy theory reels and stuff like that on Instagram, sometimes she puts laughing faces on them and stuff like that, because she looks at me as...
She knows you before
all of that, and she can't put them two and two together. But say I'd had a spiritual... I didn't, but say I'd have had a spiritually attuned or a person that was more open-minded to it. As I grew up, they probably would have been able to put two and two together and gone, yeah. But she's very much reality-based, like, loves the Adnola shit, you know what I mean? Follows everything the government tells us to do, type of thing. So, yeah. I mean, it's one of them. I know people side-eye me. I know people go, oh, even other spiritual practitioners, when I say I'm an exorcist, they go, no. You know what I mean?
But everyone's different, you know, whatever practice you do, and if everyone's the same, do you know what I mean?
What's the point?
What's the
That's what the government wants.
The
government wants is all the same.
You're doing your own thing, which is different. And but like you say, you got your friend Patsy, who's fully behind you and stuff like that. And I think whatever line of work you're in, you've got that person to fall, and they'll give you, and sometimes tough advice, because that's what a proper friend does.
Definitely.
So you probably don't want to hear it at times where And you're like, fucking hell, but then you think, oh, she's fucking right there, or he was right there, you know what I mean?
100%.
So it's like...
Because you do get a lot of people that go, I want to be friends with a witch, because it's kudos and it's cool. You know what I mean? That is till you see right through them and never speak to them again without an explanation. They're like, what have I done? You know what I mean? You're like, can't speak to you.
Yeah.
You're an agent of the Matrix. You know what I mean? It's one of them, really, isn't it? But it's the same with it, whether you're a witch or not. There's not many people with any loyalty anymore.
I think
We've
you
had
find
a
that
lot of our...
Yeah, I think in a life today, you know, society today,
it's horrific.
Loyalty.
No, there's no compassion. There's no kindness. There's no manners. No one says please or thank you anymore. It's. But again, this is a result of what they want. They don't want us to be compassionate to each other. They don't want us to
morals
think
and stuff
freely.
like that.
They don't want us to have morals. The more unhinged we are, the more likely we are to go to hell. And don't forget, all these big powers that be, your Freemasons and all that, are all working with Satan. You know what I mean? So they owe him all of our... I mean, I could get into a really big rabbit hole with your birth certificates and all that, and how the powers that be are feeding us all to demons. But we won't have time today. I'll do that on my reels on Instagram.
We'll do a part 2, definitely.
We'll do a part 2.
But
yeah. It's like, you've only got to look at the FBI. Look at the FBI declassified files on witchcraft, MK Ultra, your mind control, remote viewing, all this stuff. It's all there. And if the FBI have declassified these things and said, yeah, they're real, it will be to go. You can go and look at them. I'll send you them.
Send them to Benny. You can
I'll send them to him.
You can send yeah.
And you can send them to your wife.
Yeah, definitely.
And she can tell you bits and bobs in the daylight when you can't get scared.
She won't stop. She'll just filter me head with it. But how do you approach the concept of magic and manifestation in your life?
What do you mean?
So how do you approach...
What do we do?
Yeah.
I say, I'm going to have this, and then I have it.
Is that how you...
Yeah. There cannot be any doubt. You must be in full control of yourself and your brain. And this is the thing, this is where most people get fucked up with manifestation, is because the brain immediately goes, that's never going to happen, and you're not good enough for that, and you can't achieve this. And like I did a reel on it a couple of weeks ago, instant manifestation. Start small. Start with a parking space. You go, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to have parking space here. You visualise it. You visualise yourself driving into it, and the whole way that you're driving, wherever it is.
And you do it. Is that how
You've got to focus and know that parking space is empty. Now, it might not be empty, but the minute you pull behind it, the car's going to move and you're going to get in it. And it works every single time.
So is that how you...
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Heck, I manifested a new car last year. You know what I mean? And I went and got it. I shouldn't have been able to get it because I've got no credit. But lo and behold, there you go. You know what I mean? Like, it's mad. It is mad.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, that's... But, you know, like you say, it's...
Once you trust and fully believe in unseen forces, they will begin to weave into your life in ways that you will never expect. And it'd be different for each and every one of us. Like, since she's met me, she's surrounded by birds. You know what I mean? Constantly fucking giving her messages and stuff like that, sort of thing. But it's individual, because what you have to remember as well is the universe knows you better than you could ever know yourself. You know what I mean? Don't forget, we've got years of conditioning and all kinds of stuff on us. Whereas they know who we are underneath all of that. So they know how to do the things that we need.
Yeah.
More than what we want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, that's mad, innit? But how do you handle skepticism or criticism of your practice from other people? Or does you just...
So I suppose I did have some fella. He was a Christian lad. Local lad as well to me, and he was giving me some horrific abuse. He was calling me a heretic and all that, and I thought it was funny at first.
Online and this, or in
he was
person?
quite a well-known lad. No, this was online. It started online, and then he was inciting other men to send me abuse and threaten me with violence and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just reporting and blocking and this, that, and the other. And then he kept making different profiles up under basically the same name, so I knew it was him. And it got to a point where it was every day, and it was getting me down. I had to come off Instagram for a week because I was like, no, this is getting to me. And it was just before the Liverpool parade. Yeah, it was constant. But I was like, I feel like I'm in danger. Was my point. I thought if I see him face to face in the street, he probably would give me a dig or spit at me. And what if I'm with my kids? You know what I mean? All because I said I believe in Jesus. It wasn't even about being a witch. It was because I believed in Jesus, and witches aren't allowed to do that. And it got to the point where I'd gone to the Liverpool parades with the kids, and I was constantly like this. am I going to see him? Am I going to see any other fellas?
You're on edge, like,
yeah, constantly on edge. And I thought, wow, no, I can't cope with that. And that's not me neither. I'm very thick-skinned. I think everything that I've been through over the years, like, it's fucking water off a duck's back, you know what I mean? But it did, it affected me. I was having panic attacks and everything. I was not well that week, was I? It was bad. And I've got PTSD anyway. Obviously from what's gone on with the club, my childhood, stuff like that. And it was triggering that. And at first I was like, is it him that I'm scared of? And it wasn't until about halfway through the week of this break that it's out off Instagram that I thought, no, but he's triggering me wounds. You know what I mean? And once I managed to get a concept on that, right, I know what he's doing and I know what part of me is reacting to it. I felt all right about it then. So I got rid of it, you know what I mean? And I sort of shook it off. But the fact of the matter is you can't really do anything about it other than look after yourself. You're always going to come up against people who've got an opinion. And most of the time it's a very, very uneducated one at that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one that will ever come up to me and debate me.
There's reasoning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, look, I have it all the time.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. That's your opinion.
Yeah.
We don't need to fall out over it, you know what I mean?
No.
But, you know,
we all experience reality in a different way. That's a normal part of being a human.
And I think sometimes when you don't agree with something, it doesn't necessarily mean I fucking don't like you.
Yeah, and people take it personally.
People take it, not don't like you, you know what I mean? He supports Liverpool, I support Everton, doesn't mean, you know what I mean?
Well,
it's one of them where I go,
but some
you know what?
Be able to sit with him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, or vice versa.
But you can have an opinion and you can, and it gets heated and it gets fucking all this. And I just think on social media, people think they're right and listen, okay, fair enough, that's your opinion, but we don't need to have all this.
But I think there's no consequences neither with social media. No, I know a hell, like that lad that was absolutely abusing me. I know, should I stand toe to toe with him in the street, he wouldn't have nothing to say. They never do like that.
When you see someone face to face or whatever, or someone's hand behind the phone or the keyboard, and
they can say whatever they want with no consequences.
But it's nasty. Sometimes you see it, that social media, when like people are sort of, you know, if they don't know the ins and outs of things, and then they just start going on, you know, being personal, and then you think, all right, enough's enough now. Do you know what I mean? You can come at me for having an opinion, but don't fucking get personal.
Yeah, but what is the point? But again, like I do think, like I say, 90% of them aren't even real. They're not even human. They're just bots. And the ones that are human are very, very sick and sorry individuals.
But they've got nothing good going on in their
life.
This is
it. I mean, to project negativity like that, you must be going through 10 times
hate,
worse.
Isn't it, as well?
Yeah. So it's like, you know, they're not well. It's just be sitting there doing that with their time.
Exactly. You've got nothing better else to do but just abuse someone and hate on them, and you know, does that make you feel better? Or
but then the more people are exposed to that, the more normal it becomes.
Or people,
and then people go, oh, yeah, well, it's all right for me to fire back at someone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When it's not. And I mean, I do it now. Like, if someone leaves a stupid comment or so, and I'll fire back and be like, no, it's this. And what gets me is no one, like, there's loads of people that go, no, you're wrong. And I go, tell me how. And they can't say nothing.
You've got nothing to back
it up. Nothing to back it up. It's just a point of, I've probably rubbed someone up the wrong way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They just don't like it. Not many people like scousers on the internet as well. That's another thing.
Because we're very out, you know, we say how it is and stuff like that. And
this is it. But you know why the government says Liverpool as well? Because we're very hard to control. We will not be controlled.
Yeah.
We're a danger to the government. Always have been.
I think Liverpool as a city is, you know, on that one, is like you say, there's a lot of things that, you know, why Liverpool don't like the governments and stuff like that. You know what I mean? For what they've done and that, and you know, it's just, it's. Yeah. But going back to, like, you know, the governments and stuff like that, you know, it's all fucking my arse anyway. You know, with what they. That's my opinion anyway.
100%.
You know, and
there's no such thing as democracy.
But this is it. Do you believe witchcraft is something anyone can learn, or is it a motive calling?
No, everyone's got it inside them. Everyone's got a connection to the divine in one way, shape, or form.
And learning it.
Yeah. Some people will find it easier. So people who are water signs, star signs, finds it much easier. And people who have experienced trauma finds it easier as well. Because what a lot of people think is when they have a spiritual awakening, it's all beautiful and it's like, oh, the world's great and, you know, it's all peace and love, man. No. It's darkness, it's pain, it's everything that you've had an attachment to ripped away from you. It's lonely. You know what I mean? And it's not a nice place to be.
Your experience, what you've been explaining to us and stuff.
Well, yeah. But even your average person who hits a spiritual awakening, it's usually when they're going through the most horrific time of their life. Because in order to understand your personal power, you must remove the ego, you must remove attachment, you must remove anything that stands in your way of going, okay, I know what I know where I've been, and I don't want to go back there. You will go back there anyway, because that's how the universe does it, put you right back. But you must choose to grow, and you must choose to do differently. You see a lot of people who've been through abuse and trauma then go on to become the abusers and the ones causing trauma. It's like the studies being done on it. And it takes a very, very certain type of person to be able to go, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to turn and do the same things that were done to me. I want to be different.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a big, big challenge. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. That's scary. Like I say, what you're touching on there, it's because a lot of people who'll watch this or listen to this will be going, fucking hell, you know, is that something I could do or whatever?
Everyone can. I just say to everyone, learn who your spirit guides are. Once you learn who your spirit guides are, and you do that through meditation, through very particular spirit guide meditations, then start using a pendulum to answer your questions or to have a conversation with your guides, have a conversation with the universe, get on the same rhythm as the universe. And when you are, that's when you're in flow. When you're in flow, that's when abundance comes and you get opportunities. You start looking better, you feel better, you feel brighter. And then you start to see magic happen around you. And once you start to see the magic around you, you go, well, I've made that happen. And then it gets more personal, and then people do tend to progress to practicing magic.
And you go a bit deeper into it and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk about any ethical guidelines or rules you follow in your practice? Or
Do no harm. Just always do no harm. If it's not in the best interest of a situation, a person, a circumstance, whatever it is, don't do it. And always, always say to everyone, learn how to protect yourself. Because the thing is, good doesn't exist without evil. Light doesn't exist without dark. We can't have one without the other. So if you want light, get ready to experience darkness, because the first thing that will get to you is the dark. Is evil.
Yeah.
So many people, particularly your mediums and stuff like that, they don't tap into spirit guides, they tap into demonics, who give them personal information in exchange for life force energy from the medium or from the clients. Most people don't know that. But also as well, we live on a third dimension realm. 3 is the number of the criminal. So demons, evil is more likely to exist here than it is on any other dimension. You know what I mean? It's all in numerology. There's laws with numerology and stuff like that. But I think as well, like, people think, or they'll start a spiritual journey, they'll start getting into things, whether it's practicing magic, spellcraft, trying to talk to spirits. Conjuring spirits is usually one of the most popular ones to do. Let's call in a ghost and have a talk to it, whether it's through a Ouija board or a ritual. And what they end up with is attachments. And then 99% of the time it goes that far gone into the fear that they either end up being diagnosed with schizophrenia or sections. Like a lot of churches who say they perform exorcisms end up getting people sections.
Because they got far.
Because it's gone too far. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I had a fella, Offbeat Tommy, come and do a documentary with me for a couple of days. Spent 2 days with me, seeing what I do. And he'd spent time with priests in the Vatican that did it. And he said, like, there's loads of people that say they can do it, but no one does it like you or them. And even he says they have to go through a certain load of guidelines before they go, yeah, we'll do you an exorcism and you can go back to your lovely life. Or you're going to have to go down the mental health route. But I think as well, a lot of priests, like, I don't think priests have any jurisdiction. I think certain ones may have jurisdiction to do it. But 99% of the time, if I see a client that's had a priest house, the exorcism's never successful. Or if the priest comes to bless the house, it's never successful. Because what they tend to do is bathe it in light, or, you know, speak on Jesus' name and basically put loads of angelic energy in a place.
Water and all that.
Yeah, but after a minute that dissipates and the darkness and the evil's still there. You know what I mean? It has to be done in a certain way, and they have to be, this is another thing, people will perform exorcisms and they'll just detach a demon or whatever other entity is attached to a soul, and they'll just let it go back onto the earth. And I'm like, well, that's just going to go and attach to someone else. You need to put it back to its dimension where it come from, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain rules and things that
have got to be followed.
Yeah, otherwise it's not going to work and it's not going to happen, and it can be dangerous as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying there, exorcism and stuff like that.
I've had many injuries during them. Many. I've been punched. I've had bruises here. I get burns off them when the demons grab you. as they're on the way down into a pentagram, some of them will try and attack you. I had burns, scars, got a scar on my lip here, where I was attacked in bed by a demon that was left by someone purposely in my home. That was a good one.
Does it not scare you though, Molly?
It used to. That one did.
Fucking petrified if it was me, if I'm going to be honest.
It used, but the thing is, I used to be scared of them, but they're more scared of me now. Because once you know that they have no power over you, what can they do? Know what I mean? They can't do anything.
It's scary.
That fella that came, now he came for like a DMT. Well, it wasn't a DMT ceremony. He came, he had a bit of DMT and he went, do you mind if I take it? Because I want someone to be here with me and you're dead spiritual and that. And I was like, sound.
Because a lot of people take DMT, don't they?
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
it's
And I was like, and mushrooms and your plant medicines. I'll get into them in a minute, they're bad. Anyway, and he goes under this DMT and I had a weird feeling about this fella anyway. You know, when someone
bad vibe, did you just got a good feeling and you just think he doesn't?
I mean, like,
in what way?
He had a rough time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I felt for him in that way. And you know, I understood him in that way. But there was just something going on behind his eyes that I couldn't put my finger on. I didn't know whether it was just trauma or whether he was cunt. You know what I mean? Anyway, and he's on this DMT. And like, I'm talking and he's talking back to me through. He hadn't completely gone out of it. And he just sits up, bolt upright. So I'm sat where you are, I'm on a chair. And he sits bolt upright and his eyes turn towards me in the black. Completely black. And he went, I've gone to the casino, Molly. If you go to the casinos, that's the hell realm, basically. And I went, oh shit. Oh no, you should be there. You should be in heaven. Or at least the fourth dimension, you know what I mean? Or some other dimension. Anyway, so he goes back and he's saying all these things. Like, this clown's telling me to get in the box. And I'm going, well, don't get in the box. And he went, well, I'm getting in the box. And I went, oh, fuck. Where are you going? Because I know he's going to have a bad trip here.
Yeah.
And then, like, as quick as he come into it, he comes out of it and he turns around and he looks at me and he's like, oh, yeah, it was mad, that. It was a mad experience. And I'm like, you don't say. Like, his eyes are still completely black. And I'm thinking, you've come back with an attachment. I need to exercise it. So I said to him, look, this is what I think happens. And explains it. And he went, no, I'm fine. I am absolutely fine. And I was like, okay. Anyway, he sits there and he's acting dead weird. It's like 12 o'clock, midnight. And there's a knock on my front door. And he's ordered himself a takeaway to my house. Hadn't asked me whether I wanted anything. And I'm thinking, oh, you're fucking, like, this is mental. You need to get a taxi and fuck off because you're acting weird. So I eats his fucking chips and his pizza, whatever it is, and gets himself home. And he hears nothing about it and he goes to bed. And now my daughter, God, she was 2 at the time. And I had these, like, bed against the wall. And I had these 2 big, huge concrete wings, about the same size as them lights there. And they were drilled onto my wall. I paid some fellas to come out and put them up because they weighed that much and I'm not good at DIY. So I was like, I know the solid. And I'm lying in bed and something shakes my ankle and drags me down to the bottom of the bed. And I've immediately gone, oh, what the fuck? And I sees this wing peeling off the wall right above my daughter's head. And now it fell on her, it would have killed her. So it grabs her, rags her down the end of the bed and this thing lands on my bed, smashes into smithereens. And then the next one levitates off the wall and does the same, and lands on the floor. So I'm like, oh shit, panicked, as you would. Grabs the baby, puts her back in her own room. And I have we've only got like a metre square landing before you go down the stairs, and opposite the landing there's a mirror on the wall. And I looks in the wall and my face is dripping with blood. And I had gashes all over me. Runs downstairs thinking I've got to get rid of it, need to put it in a pentagram, it's going to fucking injure one of the kids. And I gets downstairs and I had a big box of cards on top of me cupboard in the living room, like tarot cards. And every single card had been tipped upside down so no pictures could be seen on them, except one which was the devil card. And I'm going, no. Oh no, panicking, thinking, oh, I've got to get myself together. I'm pouring with blood, and I was petrified, I was scared. I was scared for my kids.
The kids, that's what I was going to say, your kids
like,
and stuff like that.
You can injure me as much as you like, but like, what's that going to do to them? They're only small. Anyway, gets me shit together, and I did manage to get rid of it, put it in a pentagram. It absolutely destroyed my house, though. There's like claw marks all around my walls and stuff. They're still there now because I haven't repainted it. Claw marks in my wall and stuff off it. Like, it was horrific.
You know, when you say, like, you talk about that would freak anybody out.
Yeah, it was.
Anybody, I don't care who it is.
Most people probably wouldn't go into
I'd be fucking gone out the house, wouldn't go back.
Well, no, and you probably wouldn't want to go into a stranger's house that told you, would you?
You know what I mean?
Got all this activity.
But it's just like what you're describing. Because people will watch this and listen to it and comment and go, fucking foolish.
Yeah,
and all that, you're going to get all that.
Will, of course,
but it's your experience, what you've experienced. And
not just my experience, until it happens to them. And it's a lot more common than people think. It really is. And if they've never experienced it, guaranteed they'll know someone that has had an experience. I'm telling you now.
What do you think, like, you know, the future holds for witchcraft today, you know, in the modern digital age?
It's being destroyed. It is being destroyed.
In what way? How is it?
So, particularly here in Britain, there's not many people that have got into the roots of British witchcraft. They want to go and do these cacao ceremonies and the camber, and they want to do everything that belongs to other cultures. You mean? Yeah, they want to bring in everything from other cultures.
Learn, like, this and
country. Whitewash it. You know what I mean? And I'm going to charge you loads of money for it, and I'm going to give no reparation back to that culture that I've just stole this process from. And this is the thing, the likes of plant medicines, like the way they're used now is it's bad. You shouldn't be using plant medicines like that. Like those tribes, those cultures were really lucky to even get one plant medicine ceremony within their lifetime, because they had to be ready and they had to be able to, one, understand the process and the experience.
And what it does to people as well.
Yeah.
People fucking dying and all that,
of course. But then what's the point in having a plant medicine ceremony for you to go back, start snorting coke, drinking your drinks and fucking, you know what I mean? You're not living a spiritual life. So what's the point? You want to reach enlightenment, but they don't want to do the work to do it, so they go piggybacking on plant medicines, basically. You know what I mean?
I've a lot of people, like you said about the plant medicines, a lot of people go to other countries and try.
Oh, yeah.
Is it like ayahuasca, you know, like that?
Yeah. There's cambo, ayahuasca, there's all different
Loads of people, like, have had to go with that ayahuasca and stuff, and it's brought out uncontrollable fucking,
like,
you know, emotion stuff that might have had trauma go on in like, you know, when they were younger, fucking uncontrollably crying.
Because it reconnects them with the true self, but what is the point in doing that when you're not going to keep maintaining that state? You know what I mean? You can go and do all the plant medicines and have these experiences, but until you're coming home and you're living up to everything that you've experienced and changing your life and changing the way you think and the things that you do and the things that you eat and stuff like that, what's the point?
Yeah, it's just...
It's a fad. Yeah. That's what it is. It's a fad. But again, it's like, even now, so you'd imagine a spiritual person, I'm probably the last person that would come to mind. You're going to think someone in, like, either a tie-dye t-shirt or these Hessian straw bag pants and a fucking stupid binsy ear and some, like, crystals and, you know what I mean? And that's not spirituality. That's your ego going, I need to look more spiritual. Your spirituality is in here. It's in your soul. You know what I mean? It's inside of you. And all these outward expressions that we're seeing, it's all just stolen, even down to, like, yoga. Loads of yoga that's practiced now, that's taught, was developed for office workers in the 60s and 70s. It's not proper yoga. Like, there's a woman that goes around doing a comedy show, basically ripping apart the Western industry on yoga, because it's all fake, it's all a fad. And yeah, we're picking off these little things that we enjoy about other cultures and trying to make them our own and saying, oh, well, I can do this and I can do that. I'm enlightened.
And bring it up, pass it off as your own, you mean?
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, there is so much misinformation out there, so much. And I think as well, they're doing that on purpose, because spirituality has become popular, and because it's popular, it's powerful. So if they muddy the waters with all kinds of shite, no one's going to actually attain anything, are they? You know what I mean? We're going to think we are, we're going to dress like we are, we're going to speak like we are, but we're not going to actually do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to harness that power.
But it's mad when you put it like that. That, you know...
People hate me in the spiritual world because I constantly call people out. Like, I've had people say to me, like, why do you constantly go for Reiki practitioners? Why do you call out this? Why do you call out that? And it's like, but it's not real. It's not true. You know what I mean? So someone's got to say something. You know what I mean? And I don't get personal. I'll just say, you know, angelic Reiki, for example.
Yeah, this is your opinion and stuff like that.
Basically, yeah. Like, the fella that saved my life, he says, you're so dogmatic.
What did he say?
You're so dogmatic with the way I express myself. I say, yeah, but I wouldn't express myself in that way had I not experienced it, had I not done it. My opinions are not just formed through, oh, I like the idea of that. It's through experience. You know, I'm one of them people who don't think anyone should have an opinion on anything unless you've done it.
You've tried it and go and do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're saying there, back it up a little bit or whatever. And I think, and look, people who are doing them certain things, Reiki or whatever, look, fair enough.
Each to their own.
Of course, yeah. But then obviously...
But educate yourselves. Yeah. Where's it come from? What are you actually doing? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, for example, the angelic Reiki, it was infiltrated years ago. So a couple did basically create it, and it was very powerful and it was great. And then some other woman decided she wanted to make her own little branch of it, didn't copy anything that they'd done. It didn't have any of the fundamental rules or laws or processes that went with that. And now her pretends angelic Reiki is one of the most popularly practiced types of Reiki in the world. Why is that? Because it doesn't fucking work. That's why it's popular, because it's easy to learn and it's easy to do, and everyone goes, oh yeah, that was great, that, love, you channeled the angels. Because this is another thing, how can you channel angelic energy? That energy is not like human energy, and you're here in a human body and you're telling me you can pass angelic energy through your body without no problems? All right, love.
You just fucking saying no, yeah.
But I think I am very logically minded. You know what I mean? Considering, I talk about this stuff, I've still got my feet planted firmly on the floor, and I do really think about it. I am rational. I am a bit delusional. But you've got to have a bit of delusionality with it, I think. But at the same time, I think that's what picks me apart from these people, is that I'm like, that's not normal. That doesn't look right. You know
but you know
what
when you're saying it like that, where people could fucking message you and say what you're saying about... And you'll have a conversation with them saying what you're saying is like that's not like, you know what I mean? Come on, fucking do it. When I know what you've explained to me, what you've gone through, you've done the research, you've done the fucking...
This is it.
You've wore the t-shirts.
Yeah.
You know, some of the shit that you've seen. So when people come at you and they say, well, that's not fucking... How do you react or whatever? Or do you have a conversation?
I'm not going to lie, I haven't had anyone come and say that to me, yes.
Because fact...
I think I do try, obviously, and explain where I'm coming from with the things that I'm saying, so there is no confusion with it. But I don't think anyone knows enough
to try and...
To have me, really,
to
with
cut
it.
you down, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I suppose, obviously, I was dying. I had no way out. I had to study the Bible. I studied the Torah. I studied the Quran. I became a Muslim for a while to see if that helped. I've studied all kinds of religious texts, different witchcraft texts, Anton LaVey. I've read it all. You know what I mean? And all right, you could ask me a mad question and I might not be able to throw the information back at you word for word. But the fact that I've read it and I've took it in, and I've been able to form an opinion from all of these different things, cultures, texts, religions, you know what I mean?
You're clued up.
There isn't much, I don't leave myself much of an openness for them to get me. Because...
So you do your research and you do your...
Well, yeah, I'd be a fool to go on the internet and go, don't do this, don't do that, you shouldn't be doing... And
then someone goes, hang on a minute.
Yeah, back that up. I'd look a twat, wouldn't I? You know what I mean? My ego's there enough to go, don't do that, you know what I mean?
And you're giving advice or, you know, and stuff. And I think what you're saying there is like, look, I don't leave myself open for someone to come along and go, hang on, you're fucking wrong there.
But I wouldn't say it if it didn't feel confident in it.
Because you're going to look fucking daft.
I'd look at it, wouldn't I? You know what I mean? And this is, again, there's so many people on the internet that you see, and I'm constantly calling them out. And you're thinking, bullshit, that's opinion, that's bullshit, it's not true. You know what I mean? And because there's so many of these people coming out and saying their opinions are fact, no one knows what's right and what's wrong when it comes to spirituality. In fact, if there's any sector of spirituality that I'd say you can't go wrong with, it's astrology. Because it's mathematically based. You know what I mean? Yes, it's open to interpretation. But at the end of the day, your chart and mapping planets and stars, you can't really go wrong because it's physical. But everything else, there isn't really any way to go, you're wrong or you're right, or, you know, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, I suppose, unless you've lived it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I get it. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. No, so like you say, I totally get what you're saying. It's one of those where, like you're saying, you don't leave yourself open. You've done all the hard work and you've done all the research and you've done all the where so no one can come after you and go, well, that's fucking, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
But how does witchcraft empower you as a woman?
Because I can't give up. I think, like I have been even...
What you've been telling us.
Well, yeah.
It's
But even say after I got my soul back and my life went on an even keel for a minute, I was still going through really bad times. And again, I was like, I don't even want to be on this earth anymore. And even more so because I knew there was an afterlife and because I knew there was an angelic realm and stuff like that. I was thinking, if I just get through the next 18 years till my kids are grown up, I can just top myself and we can go. And there was a time where I was living like that.
Is that what your thought process?
Yeah,
Was that what you were thinking?
that's how I was thinking. And it's not a great way to be. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but that's keeping me going. Because at least I know when I die, I'll still be able to see my kids and I'll still be able to like guide them and help them, even if it is from a heavenly realm or a fourth dimension, you know what I mean? But really, I think it's the fact that I have been through the most darkest, horrific experiences, and one thing that's always been there for me throughout it all, and I am lucky because I am psychic and I am a medium and I can hear the spirit realm, is the universe. Even as a kid, when I was getting beat, there's always been like a voice in me, don't go downstairs yet, wait a minute. Stuff like that, keeping me safe. So I think that's how it empowers me, because I know I'm never alone. And I know there is always a force working behind me to make sure everything works in my favour, even if it doesn't initially look like that.
Yeah. How do your kids?
They love it. They're bang into it. Bang into it. Like my daughter's come home today, she's made a shamanic wand in school, she's got a stick and she's put a crow feather in.
Are they in primary school or in senior school?
My eldest going to senior school in September, but
listen, the mum, they understand.
They love it. They absolutely love it. I mean, my eldest he's got Asperger's to autism, but it's the other end of the spectrum where he's very, very reality based. You know what I mean? He hasn't got much of an imagination, doesn't really know how to role play, that sort of thing. He can fly a plane, but he can't play dress up. You know what I mean? He's one of them. So he's into it, but he just comes home and goes, so did you get hit today? Like, did they get your mum? Did they batter you? Have you got any cuts or bruises? Or he'll say, pick me a card, and I'll give him a card. Let me know my day's going to be all right. Whereas my middle child, again, he's got autism and ADHD. He can't read or write, but the kid is like mental maths. Like, that doesn't know what the number's called, but he can do it. It's mad. Yeah. He sees things as well. He hears things, RJ. To the point where I've had school ring me up and go, your son's saying that I think you need a child psychologist because my son had seen an Archangel Michael in the toilet with the violet flame. I'd never explained about Archangel, because I suppose as well, I didn't want my kids to go into school and go, my mum's a witch and my mum's this, because I didn't want to be judged.
Well, when you say it like that, and I was laughing when you said about being in the toilet and this fucking Archangel.
Well, yeah.
Do you know when they're in school, do you think the teachers might think, what the fucking, your mum's round the bend, social services. Yeah. That's what I'm 100%. Thinking, but you know what I mean?
That's exactly my biggest fear.
Does that ever worry you, or?
It used to badly.
Yeah.
Until he blew me cover. So I'd done a workshop last year, and for one reason or another, loads of teachers have found me on Instagram. I don't know whether it was the kids or something like that. And even like my daughter, she's in year 1 now, year 1-1, knew about it, and she was like, can I come? I want to come and bang into all this. Then I'd managed to send a tarot reading by accident to my son's Senko that was meant for someone else who had the same name but a different email. And she was like, oh, Molly, this is amazing. I'd love one of these. And I'm like, maybe you aren't going to think I'm that mental. But obviously when they rang me up about Jake seeing that thing in the toilet, I had to go in and say, well, I see them.
Did you have to explain to them about what it was?
And this is what I do for a living, you know what I mean? And look, I don't talk to my kids about it because it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, once they get to that age or whatever.
They've got to be able to understand it, I think, because the last thing I'd want them to look at me and go, you're fucking mental.
I don't know, you probably don't fucking do all this, you know what I mean, because it's open to them, but they probably...
Oh, they know all about it. They
I was
going
to say...
the pentagram left on the floor in Salt, where I've had to run out after the clients and haven't managed to clean it up because I've got to go pick them up from school, and they're like... Is that open? Is it activated? Is anything going to come up it? And I'm like, no, because there's salt, they can't get through it. And they're like, oh, all right, then I'm going to play my PlayStation. It's dead normal.
Just normal.
Yeah. But I think I've eased them into it a little bit. You've always seen me sat there shuffling cards of a night.
Do you see you doing that?
They never won't watch the telly and stuff like that.
Just watch
no, I can't. I can't watch it.
My missus is the same.
Shut up, is she? She's on the ball.
She's like, we'll watch a series, she doesn't watch the news, doesn't watch fucking, or like, you know what I mean, we'll watch something like that. But, you know what you've just been saying about, like, your one-to-ones, this is what I was going to ask you next, was like, you know, safe spaces or, you know, communities for witches locally, or is there not anything like that?
I don't know, I'm very anti-spiritual community, me.
Oh,
so
right,
maybe there is, you know, there are sister circles and these practitioners and shops and stuff that hold groups, and you can go and have a like-minded chat with them, but it's very, very superficial, surface level spirituality that I don't think really, other than having a sense of community and like-mindedness, isn't benefiting anyone. So I think I'm a bit like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And also as well, one, the stuff that I do, and obviously the background that I've got isn't accepted by many spiritual practitioners. They're scared of me. Like, there's a psychic, a medium thing going around Liverpool at the minute saying I'm cursing everyone. Like, to the point, like, the Queen of Scotty Road rang me and was like, this woman's told me you've put a curse on her. On me. And you're doing it to her. There's another lad who does, like, ghost stories. He's quite big on Instagram. He rang me one day and was like, you'll never guess this woman saying you've cursed me. And I'm like, I've never even met you, love.
I don't even know who you know.
No, apparently I'm sacrificing pigs in my living room. As you do, because I'm walking around Dovecot with a pig on a leash, you know what I mean? The fuck? But this is what I mean.
This is what you're having to deal with.
Yeah, people see someone who does exorcisms and they're going, oh no, fucking, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ, you know, and that's all right.
They're portraying you out to be something.
Yeah, they're scared of it. But really, if anyone gets an attachment, who are we going to call?
I was going to say the Ghostbusters. Do you know what I mean?
Witchorcist.
No, but it's like one of those, if, you know, like, you're doing something and, you know, people understand the depth and, you know, the depth of what you do, and I think people, you know, might start understanding it a little bit more, because that's why I wanted you on the podcast, because I thought, you know what, it's
people
something
judge
totally
before
different.
they have a minute to go, hang on a minute, let's listen, let's be open, let's see what's going on, you know what I mean? Whereas they immediately prejudge. But one thing I will say as well about the spiritual community is it's a horrific place. It's full of predatory men. It's full of very, very manipulative people that will use all the love and light to get you,
to get rid of what they want.
Your narcissism and stuff like that. It's not a great place. And I've suffered probably more trauma at the hands of spiritual people than I have anything else, really.
Yeah.
And scams and stuff like that. It's all money, money, money. It's never about, let's actually genuinely help, because...
well-being and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like, it's all, what can you do for me? What can you put in my pocket? Hang on a minute, I'm just going to jump on Instagram and see how your mental health can benefit my pocket. Know what I mean? It's all very much that rhetoric, I think.
You see a lot of that, I think. You know, we're all our opinions. Listen, I see where you're coming from there, you know what I mean? You know, there's ways and means of helping people and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is.
But like you say, unfortunately...
I mean, I get it. People have got to get themselves out there to be able to be someone that people go, oh, I need a bit of help. I know I can go on to this person, or I can see, I get that. But I think especially the way we are now with this phones on everything and filming everything, like, it's all about, look at me, not, I'm actually doing this for myself and this person. You know what I mean?
And people are getting something genuinely out of it, in the mean, and that's it. What's the good, the bad and the ugly of being a witch today?
So the good thing about being a witch today is having that power at your fingertips. You want to change something, go and change it. You know what I mean? If something's not working out the way you want it to, or you want to achieve something, just go and do it, and you will. The bad is mostly the demonic gender and the society that we live in. One, it's very closed-minded to us, but two, as well, it's all designed to keep us null and void. And the ugly is the evil that goes on disguised as good in the industry. Really, yeah.
Bloody hell, it's like, when you put it like that, it's one of those, isn't it? You know what I mean? But, you know, another thing I want to touch on is phone hacking.
Yeah.
Right, because I seen it on your Instagram. Yeah. Can you tell everyone how they can check to see if their phones have been hacked?
Yeah, so I think I might need to correct myself, but I've done a reel on this if you want to go and watch it as well. It's on my Instagram. I think it's *62#. And it'll come up with all of these words, and basically what you're looking for is on the top one. If it says call forwarding enabled, it'll give you the number. So that basically your voice call is being forwarded to another number. Now, when I've checked mine yesterday, it was an international number. 02 voicemail isn't going to be an international number, is it?
It's UK based, isn't it?
Well, you know what I mean. But I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe I'm one of them. Goes on it again today. And now, lo and behold, it's a normal UK number. Not my number, but a random number. And apparently if you do, I think it's #61#, it's about to turn it all off and disable it all. No, mine's enabled. I can't turn mine off. Now, what gets me is, obviously, I know the club still send me emails now and again. I think the last one I got was about 14 months ago, which has been the longest time. And I know full well they're watching every move that I'm making. And at first I was like, is it because I fucking slate the government? Because that fucking Keir Starmer's trying to put everyone in prison, isn't he, for saying anything?
Yes,
you know, well, you can't say a fucking nothing, can you? And I thought, so you never know, you know what I mean? Maybe it's fucking MI5, maybe it's Mossad because I'm very, very pro-Palestine. Who knows? And then it was only today that I thought, no, of course, it's going to be the fucking club, isn't it? Of course it is. Because as I've had that number since I came out of it, it was the first number
You've
I
never
had.
changed your number?
I've never changed it, no. I am a creature of habit like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everyone knows it as my work number as well. Like, loads of people, when I go and see them, like, oh my God, I've already had your number stored. Someone's told me about years ago. You know what I mean? So I've never thought to change it until today. But even then, I don't think I am going to change it. I'm going to keep that number because too many people have it.
Yeah, yeah.
Too many people know about it. And I am just going to get myself a normal phone for my personal sorts of things. So don't be hacking that one.
If you I know with bots named and stuff, but the elite, what's your take on the elite?
It's not the Rothschilds and those sorts of families. It's above them. It is above them. Don't get me wrong, they are very, very powerful and influential families.
Influential, I was about to say that, yeah.
But what we have to remember is anyone who's controlling the banks is controlling the world. This is why we keep going to war with the Middle East, because these are the last remaining free banks. You know what I mean? That's what they're going after them for. That and the oil, because the dollar's collapsing. But the elite, we work for them. What we're doing every day, whether we run our own business or we work for someone else or we're, a cashier in the Asda, it's all paying money into their pockets and we're living to die.
Living to die, yeah.
Whereas they've got these hundreds of millions of billions of pounds, and they've got yachts, they've got islands, they've got paedophiles and kids trafficked on tap for them, and because they've got that much money, they don't know what to do with it. But at the end of the day, once you've had that money, you're not immediately going to go, no, we are populations, have some money back, enjoy your lives, are you? Not going to want to, are you? Too many people are making money.
And that's what makes the world go round.
And it's a trickle-down economic. It's not the Rothschilds and anyone else at the top. I seriously believe that it's non-human race at the top. I do find it's either some sort of alien or reptilian working together.
Do you genuinely believe that?
100%. And then below them, you've got your more elite families, your influential sort of bloodlines who are all into Freemasonry and stuff like that. They're all working with demonics. The demonics keep us low vibrational, they keep us ill, plus the food, the air, 100-hour work weeks that we've got, next to no money, the stress, the worry, all of these things that are going on in the world. And they're all having a party and we're all the ones down here in the rat race. But at the end of the day, while they can bank on us, they will. They're issued, certain countries are issued a certain amount of money with each birth certificate that's signed. For that person.
Really?
Yeah. And it's basically a contract. So when that birth certificate goes in, there you go, yeah, there's an X amount of money that person's going to earn across their lifetime. They get paid for you.
And when people say about certain parts of the world where they don't have, capacity, in certain countries, I think it's like China or Hong Kong, where they say they can't have so many, is it females or whatever? When you hear all it.
Yeah, population
control. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, is that what you're basically saying? Really, it's like.
Yeah.
Is that true? What goes on? Because I'm not really that clued up on it.
100%. Without a doubt.
Population control, so they can't, more.
It was written on the Georgia Guidestones. In America, it's there for everyone to see it. Everyone goes, that's ours. It's not. What you have to remember as well is these people that are in control of all this stuff. That's why you see it in your Disney films. That's why you see it all over in your face. So everyone goes, that's not real. It's satire. It's comedy. Or they didn't mean it like that. They don't mean it like this. Because if they're telling you what they're doing, they're not accumulating no karma. Neither. Know what I mean? Yeah. So they think they're all going to fucking hell. Doesn't matter how they think they can cleverly bypass it. But the universe sees all. The eye sees all.
It's scary when you say it, you know what I mean?
Do you think?
It's but when you say it like that, like about when you see things in the cartoons or whatever, and then you go.
You've only got to look at Disney. Disney's fucking horrific. Absolutely fucking horrific, that. Like
and all the stuff that you've heard with like fucking Epstein and all that malarkey and all that.
Epstein's still alive. Iran says it. That's why we're in there.
That's another.
Literally. Yeah.
Really?
The Queen used to go to Epstein Island.
Wow.
I think I think Israel, I think Mossad has images. We know, anyway, that Trump's being caught with these kids, but I reckon they've got full-on evidence on Trump, and that's the only reason why he's back in power. He's come back in power to work for the Israelis because Kamala wouldn't have. She would have done a bit, but she wouldn't have done enough because they got nothing to blackmail her about.
And it seems to go all under the radar. You know, it gets mentioned, but then it goes off under the carpet.
Yeah, I don't hear about it again. You know what I mean?
Wow. If you had one spell, if you could cast one spell to change the world, what would it be?
It would be to remove the spells that have been placed on the masses, on the population. I would cleanse every single one of them of all the indoctrination so they could all turn around and go, oh yeah, yous are the ones that have done this to us. See, people wake up in the morning and they think, God give your kid cancer. God's decided that when you're 52, you'll walk out in front of a bus. God didn't decide that. You know what I mean? They did. That's why they keep us ill with all the things that we're eating, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, the bottles we're drinking out of. Like, it's never ending. You know what I mean? We live on a toxic planet. And like I say, if people realise that actually, I'm sure you have seen it, it's a depiction, it's a meme of all these working class kneeling under the table while the elites are playing chess on the board on their backs. And it says, you know, if only they knew, if they stood up, the game's over. That's the spell I'd use to wake everyone the fuck up.
Yeah, that would be the
It wouldn't be to get rid of them. Because I was thinking, would it get rid of them? Would it cure all evil on earth? Well, you can't, because really, humans' capacity to do evil, even when you're a good person, is high. That's part of being human, is being able to control it. But no, I would like everyone to wake up and go, oh my God, it wasn't God, it wasn't the universe, it was them. The millionaires and the billionaires, and it's not even your politicians, they're just puppets.
Yeah.
I'd just like everyone to see through the illusion.
And that's what
I'd do.
Your spell would be. What's in the pipeline for Molly Simpson?
So, what is in the pipeline for me? I'm going to have a reality TV show one of these days. I know I'm manifesting it. But I have a documentary out the end of July with Offbeat Tommy. That'll be going on YouTube. We've got a couple of other podcasts lined up. I've got an autobiography halfway done. I'm writing a book on illness markers within the auric field. So plenty of books, teaching classes, and just being and just living. It's not about what you achieve, it's about what you're doing day to day, and that's what I focus on. I live in the present. We're not doing too many plans.
Yeah, looking after the kids and stuff like that, keeping occupied with the kids.
Well, yeah. That's probably the least part of my life. That though, really, it is, honestly. They wake up in the morning, I'm Mum Molly, you know what I mean? They go to school and I'm at work, or I'm going to look at my pony or whatever.
Yeah.
The kids come home, they have the tea, get them bathed. When they go to bed, I'm back on Witch Molly, you know what I mean, doing my work. Like,
how can people find you, Mol? So
you can find me on Instagram, at the Witchorcist. You can find me on Facebook and TikTok under the same handle too. You can't have my number though, because it's hacked.
Yeah. So it's just Facebook and Instagram?
Facebook, Instagram. Oh, on YouTube.
And
YouTube as well.
You've got a channel on YouTube. You're on TikTok or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, TikTok, same handle.
Same handle.
Yeah.
Listen, Mol, it certainly opened my eyes to what we just spoke about and finding out, because I'd seen a little bit and stuff, and Ben, our producer, had done something with you before, and he said, you've got to get it on and stuff. She's dead interesting. And listen, it was fucking eye-opening.
I love it.
And it was really good, because very sceptical, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
very fucking, you know what I mean? But
seeing, that now that you're more aware.
I'm aware of certain things. And
You're going to see more stuff happening.
And then I'll go, fucking hell. My missus said, I told you that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is put a spell as fucking Everton to win something next year.
I can't do that. I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, so,
sorry.
No, listen, Mol, I just want to say thanks very much for sharing.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely to meet you.